has introduced me as Anthe Adams, and I just want to thank Sandy and for sharing what she and her colleagues are doing in economics. And I also want to remind you that this event, this discussion that we're having tonight, is actually a continuation of the discussions that we started last year on using languages as a resource to enable student learning and the overall student experience. So what we'll do is later on, after we've had our second presenter, and Joanne has also told us about funding opportunities, we are going to have a question and answer session, because I'm sure there's a lot of you sitting here with questions, especially, I can just think of one, what exactly is translanguaging? Because if you talk to the colleagues, you find that there are a lot of different perceptions on what it actually entails and how to go about. As Sandy has just shown us, practical strategies that a person can apply in class to enable student learning and help them to make meaning in all learning contexts. So, as you can see, I'm well prepared. I've got notes here in case I forget anything. So let me see where I am now. Okay, so our next presenter is Selohani, but we actually know her on campus as Lalu. Lalu Mokuku, and she's from the drama department, and she will share her insights on how she and her colleagues are using translanguaging in the performance genre. Thank you, Lalu.
Story with you, and this story cannot be possible if I don't have part of the team, and the part of the team includes these incredible students who form part of a team to really imagine a 100% Lesotho text that was set in 1928 in Lesotho called Pitso Ea Linonyana. So we also noted as the Department of Drama, Department of Languages and Ireland, that to celebrate the International Year of Indigenous Languages, why not this year? And I facilitate learning in applied theatre. So it's very important for me that whatever some of these concepts as we come across them, how do we really make them possible? So when I first came here also for our orientation, when I first joined Rhodes, I was really fascinated about the concept of translanguaging, and I felt that for me, what I facilitate learning on, I feel is a social justice project. Part of the subject that I use actually is theatre for social justice. So a project like this one tends to lend itself as a social theatre project. But we also noted that the institutional transformation plan also really talks very strongly around the issue of language. So how else do we begin to move away from almost just making a theory about some of these things, but to try and see how we make them into some practice. So then there's this performance, but for a process of a performance to happen, we realize that it will not be possible, because the students, they are it's in a context that they are diverse voices, and so professionally, you'd find that you're given about 3 to 4 weeks to rehearse. Sometimes it's from 8 to 5, but the students have got a lot of work to do. And then because I come from a professional field where in my head that was going to be possible, but very soon I was made to realize that that may not really work, because you're going to work with these young the students maybe from maybe 6. That's why many of them actually are not able to join us tonight because of the rehearsal period. 6 and can be also beyond maybe 2 hours. So we ended up making what we called an open rehearsal. So in an open rehearsal, what we did was just to actually share with audience members how we went about to interpret this whole notion of translanguaging. But in applied theatre, we are so happy to be so useless. I always tell my students that I'm the most useless person in the room, and they feel like, and I tell them that I'm also the most useful person in the room. But sometimes ego speaks. I need to know these things. That's why I have to choose to homologate what has been homologated by the last homologator. I need to be vital. because the ego says, chill that you know, but sometimes I just need to chill. And I will just share some of the few things, but I thought maybe right at the beginning, something that I noted, and I would like to find what your experience could have been. Because I also found that to speak people's languages, in fact, when you made a call for auditions, some people like just stepped away because they were looking for an English production. So this one says, this is so true, but we actually said that even any other language that you have. So they were some of the ones who were bold enough. I would like I made a request just to share what your experiences were.
Moleni. Igama lami Milisa Mamase. My name is Milisa Mamase. Xhosa speaking. But when I joined Pitso Ea Linonyana, it was a Sotho script. There was no script, in fact. Ongekho script, and then we had to do an improv. So this is part of what we were doing, right? We would mix Xhosa as well as English and then Sotho to make meaning, because we were not limited to one language. And then we were told to use the language that we are comfortable at, so that at least we can express ourselves fully. So the experience was very bimnandi kakhulu. You would feel like translanguaging builds us as a community, because you don't tend to look at another person as discriminative, or if you speak your Xhosa language and then they start to be like, yo, like, I don't understand you. Instead, someone else would throw their Sotho, another one would throw their Afrikaans, another one would throw their, but you understand, because we were using our body, we were using like anything just to make a meaning, So it was very nice, very challenging, because we had to change to be birds, and then you need to feel like a bird and be a bird at the same time. You know you are human. So we had those mixed feelings at the same time. It's very interesting and it's very nice. And we had her, she's so energetic, and she makes it more easier, but it's in fact difficult, because you have never been a bird before. And then you will have to choose a bird that has your character. And you're like, a bird with my character. I'm this kind of a person that, just throw some stuff. I don't choose words. I don't pick words. Like, I say it as I feel it. So which bird is like that? So you have to go now on the internet, look for this bird that will be you. So we had that kind of an experience, which was very nice. And we enjoyed ourselves. So many of us now, we are communicating with different languages. I would use my Xhosa with her. I know she's not Xhosa, but so nice. So it was very nice.
Just before you go on, I think maybe just want to echo the fact that I think she's making reference to embodiment of what we were saying. And so part of the team included choreographers. So we didn't really rely on text. So to help us also appreciate these birds, we also had Basil as a bird expert, just to help us, because like now, part of research is very important to do what we have to do. And invited Professor Dion to come and explain to us what this whole concept is all about. So the uselessness concept comes at the point that these birds actually, they have a lot of background information that we have. So what we see as a performance is actually almost like nothing compared to what they have prepared themselves to be and to become and then to share with us. And one of the things that I found very profound in his explanation of translanguaging was how it actually removes the power of languages and the barriers as we know them. That's why the shyness of like, will you understand? But how do we negotiate towards a shared meaning was something that was quite interesting. So one of the performers, he was asking who's monolingual. So some people were like happy, like, I just don't know English. But at the end, it was almost like, a bit uncomfortable for you to feel proud that, I just know English. So what do you speak? And then I need to try and understand you. So that negotiation became very interesting. He said, given that I could barely understand the text of the play, I found the whole experience to be a liberation from language, adding that his senses of hearing, sight, touch, and smell became far more important than his linguistic perception. So all of us, we need to see how can we draw from our linguistic repertoires so that the meaning that we embody actually is because like how I understand this word, somehow it is informed also from how I understand it in my own way and how it's, hence even the senses also come into place.
Hello everyone, my name is Sese Litswano. I am Tswana, I'm from the Northwest, and for me particularly, I'm a second year drama student, but I've never been in a play before in the drama department. So I went to audition for this one particularly because the play was written in Sesotho, and I thought Setswana and Sesotho, they kind of go together and I can understand. But to my surprise, when I got there, I didn't understand the text. And there is this misconception that, you know, Tswana, Sepedi, and Sotho, they're the same language, the same thing. And I got there, and I didn't understand what was written in the text. I couldn't read it because Sesotho has an accent, and in Setswana we don't have an accent. But it was interesting to me. It was interesting to me that I could not understand the play, and yet all my life I've been thinking I can speak Sotho because I can speak Setswana. And it was interesting to be in that space because we are allowed to express ourselves. And it was like coming to this place where everybody speaks English. I know I wanted to come here because there is a friend of mine back at home who's from here, and they have an accent, like the Rhodean accent. And I was like, I want to go to that place and come back home speaking with that accent. And coming here, I was like, actually, it's quite difficult because I miss my language. Like, it's so refreshing when I meet people on the streets and they're speaking Setswana. Even though they're not speaking with me, just hearing them, it was so nice. And I realized that actually, I'm here, and even when I have opportunities to speak Setswana, I choose to speak isiXhosa, which is very weird because I'm like, how is it that I'm forgetting my language from back at home? Why is it that I feel so comfortable speaking isiXhosa when I'm not Xhosa? And it's being in this place. And what was so fun about being in the production was that I could speak whichever language I wanted to speak. Sometimes I didn't even have to speak, like gestures and facial expressions, how I said things. Like we created our own language in a sense. Like there was a free space where we could even use our bodies to communicate meaning to each other, to communicate meaning even to the audience. We realized that actually language creates barriers for us to communicate. But if we use other forms, if we use our bodies, if we use gestures, then we can communicate with one another and still be able to understand one another. And one of the best things about being in this play was that I didn't know that it was the International Day of Indigenous Languages. And I only got to know that through the play. And it was interesting to me to see how theatre could be a platform to teach people and to make them aware of the things that we face in society. Because what this play did was that audiences, they could come in and they could speak about the language barriers that they face. And it was interesting for me to see that actually theatre could be that space where we explore such things that we wouldn't usually talk about on a normal day-to-day basis. And that, like, the whole process was just so amazing. Being a bird, which was very difficult. You had to be a human and then be a bird at some point. But it was really, really, really wonderful, and I'm grateful for the process.
Deng Hadibaga. Le tlare ke eng e buang kapa e phunyang ditaba. E fela ke nnete. Le ka botsa. Le ha ho le jalo, le ka mpona eka ha ke letho. Ha ke rate ho shwa le ho bolaelwa bana ka dilemo. Puo ya ka e nngwe fela ke re Phakwe a tswe boreneng. O qeta setjhaba sa Moranonyana. My people, you may be surprised that I'm the first one to say something, for I am nothing before you. Nonetheless, I will not allow the killing of the children, something that has been happening over the years. I have only one point to make, that the Lana Falcon should be expelled from chieftainship. He's exterminating the bird community. When she says there was actually no script, this is 1928, and I made sure that we also understand that the orthography has also evolved. And because we're also trying to explore using this concept of Pitso to address a very complicated issue, how do we go about that? So then, this person who speaks Sesotho would speak the lines, and then I had to really break down, to take small chunks, just to really be sensitive to the young people who we're going to interact with. with this text. And then to try and also combine the vision, we also realized that in 1177, Atta had already written a conference of the birds. And in Pitso Ea Linonyana, they meet in the first Pitso, and Pitso e ka hlaloseha ka mekgwa e mengata. E ka ba kopano, ka tsela e nngwe e ka ba pitso ya bosebeletsi, ka tsela e nngwe e ka ba hlahlobo hobane setjhaba se hlahisa maikutlo a sona, empa ena ke pitso ya mefuta ke ya dinonyana. Ka hoo ke ditimela ditheolelong tsa Labohlano, ho hopola hore kwekwe ya morao e ka hlolwa ke ho fumana ditheolelo tsa Labohlano, ebe le gaba le teng ka ditheolelo tseo hona ke la mofuta ofeng. A gathering can be interpreted in various ways. It should be a gathering. Another interpretation could be a calling for a diagnostic forum, because the people get to air their opinions. But what kind of a forum is this one? Early birds catch the Black Friday deals, but at what cost? Who are these birds? What is the real deal? So they made reference to the research which they had to make, because now I think like Cesar says, how theatre can enable us to almost like conceptualize certain things but create a new meaning. And this one we wanted to explore the issue of Black Friday, because we had noted that in 1994 there was these long queues that were leading to freedom, but we're not quite sure what these new queues are leading us to. And I would also like to echo the point that we made regarding almost like the investment, and we played with the whole notion of what Ngugi Kiongo reminds us about the investment that has been made in English, and we wonder what possibilities could be if such investments could be made in enabling productions like Pitso Ea Linonyana and many others, and to thrive. And also just to make it sexy, to make it cool, also to speak your own languages, because I felt like, sometimes the students will, and I sometimes say that also the accents, they also show which school you went to. So don't count me and show I will get it. Like, okay, you're from this school or from that school. And we're open for more engagement, because really we're just sharing an experience. But that's what it was all about, to celebrate the International Year of Indigenous Languages.